Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. I am radio's Jordan Mojo Majeski, and this is Mojo's Minute, where I spend some time discussing St. Mary's athletics and a few other random things. Today, on my first episode, I really want to take some time to tell you about myself and, of course, the origin story of Mojo's Minute, and we'll get right into some sports talks as fall sports at St. Mary's University start on Sunday. And I will be later joined by my first guest, Tony Pasquesi, the voice of Cardinal Athletics, to kick things off. So this for me will be my senior year at St. Mary's. I'll be entering my fourth year as a member of the women's hockey team and my third year as a host on the Black Hole of Radio, the radio turned YouTube live show that really ignited all of my interest for doing this podcast. But Mojo's Minute was born on a random Friday in October on a bus driving to Wisconsin. The year was 2018 to set the stage for you. It was my first trip as a college hockey player, and I overpacked everything except for something to do. So much to my teammates' dismay, I spent some time asking them random questions about just about anything, and that's kind of where Mojo's Minute was born. It was going to exist solely as a 1-minute segment of me on the bus asking my teammates, questions about them, but also just random other questions, and it never happened. As I've grown to love radio and broadcasting work, I really wanted to take some time to actually make Mojo's Minute real. So throughout the school year, my goal is to invite athletes, coaches, fans, and anyone remotely related to St. Mary's Athletics to my show, where we will recap a special interest of theirs, talk about what's next in St. Mary's Athletics, and spend 1 minute at the end in rapid fire questions. So to start us off, I want to talk a little bit about fall sports, obviously looking at a much different year than last year with the pandemic in full swing last fall. Our fall sports participated in a shortened spring schedule, and now they're back with a quick turnaround. They get ready to prepare for their second season of 2021. And men's soccer is going to kick things off first, taking the field on Sunday. And we're really excited to get St. Mary's sports back in action, try to get some normalcy and really see what these teams are all going to do. And we're super duper excited. We have men's soccer on Sunday, women's soccer on Monday and Tuesday, and it's definitely going to be a great week for Cardinal Athletics. And with that, it's time for me to invite my first guest, Tony Pasquesi. I am Jordan Majeski, and this is the very first episode of Mojo's Minute. Today, I am very happily joined by my guest, Tony Pasquesi, the voice of Cardinal Athletics. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I'm so excited. I've been thinking about this for days, being the first guest on this podcast, which I'm sure will have great success for you. So thank you very much.
Yes, there's so much energy. We're both very excited about Cardinal Athletics. So today we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to ask Tony a few questions, flip the role a little bit. He's no longer the one asking the questions. So we're going to talk a little bit about his broadcasting experience, about fall sports coming up, and as well as the legendary moment of Tony calling the MIAC championship game for baseball. So let's start there. What was that like for them to choose you and to say, hey, we want you to broadcast this game? It's going to be watched by tons of people. Obviously, it's not just St. Mary's fans.
Yeah, it was awesome because I was doing all the games at the championship, but just for our broadcast. But the opposing team was getting just the St. John's broadcast, which had no commentary or anything. And by that championship Saturday, people were asking the St. John's crew, hey, can you get the St. Mary's guy on here? Because we think he's kind of doing a good job and we'd like to listen to him. And it was awesome when the St. John's people asked me to hook in my audio to their video stream. And that was hands down the most people that I've ever been in front of a microphone for, and that was so cool. Personally, that was really cool. Selfishly, that was really cool. But how awesome that I got to do it for those guys who worked so hard for that championship. And we all kind of knew. I don't know. We'll get into that later.
But everyone felt it. Definitely. Yeah. I find it really interesting, especially last year, everything being so difficult for athletics. It's almost like you've become a household name in St. Mary's fans. I know my parents and so many others are tweeting at you. Are you broadcasting this game? Are you broadcasting that game? So, terrible, terrible year to have to play sports. But at the same time, it's a great year for broadcasting because everyone has to tune in online. So. Yeah,
it was a huge year for me. Again, selfishly, personally, huge year for me because before that, I just wanted to be a sports radio guy. I have the Squeeze podcast and I just wanted to do that. I never even really thought about play-by-play. And then the job kind of came open. Chris Shepard and I were doing it. And I thought, this is how I'm going to get my voice out there, because we've got a captive audience. They can't go anywhere else. Maybe they could turn us down, but they have to listen to us if they want to have commentary. And I think we did a really good job. I think Chris and I got a lot better. I've gone back a couple times and listened to my Luther broadcasts, the first baseball series. By golly, that was bad. But going back to the championship game, by then I was a seasoned vet. So it was a lot of fun growth, and I can't wait for what we're going to do this year, because we're going to bring on a whole bunch of new broadcasters. It's not just going to be Tony Pasquesi and Chris Shepard, and hopefully some new graphics and interviews and videos and everything. We're going to try it all.
That will be really exciting. So my very important question for you, I've been thinking about this since the spring. Have you ever seen the movie Miracle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank God. If not, we were gonna have to take like a 2-hour break and watch it. But the first thing that comes in my mind when I'm watching that broadcast, I was sitting watching it on my phone and I'm listening and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to win. They're going to win. This is huge. And you have the moment, the Cardinals have won the MIAC playoff championship. And it's just like your fist pump, like I can feel it, right? Pandemonium in Collegeville. Like you can't forget that. And all I could think of was, oh my God, this is Miracle. This is the do you believe in miracles moment of that movie. And did you feel that way in that moment?
Absolutely. And before the game, even when they lost the first championship Saturday game, Donnie and I kind of knew they were going to pull through. And the whole game, you're thinking about what your call is going to be at the end. I didn't practice anything. I didn't write anything down. The only thing I told myself was, do not do the Joe Buck 2016 World Series. The Cubs have finally won it all. Just don't do that, because you're just going to be ripping it from him. That's my miracle moment, is the 2016 Cubs call. But you're right. That's the moment that is going to live on forever. And anytime those guys go back and watch that video of them clinching the first playoff championship victory, my voice is going to be behind it.
Yeah.
And that's something my dad kind of like choked me up when we were calling after the game, because what an awesome moment for them, and what a fantastic moment for me, especially because I didn't mess it up.
Right, can you imagine?
Yeah. Now there was a little bit of a voice crack in the pandemonium in Collegeville, but I think that was good. We were all feeling that way.
I didn't take it up. You just feel the emotion, you want to like stand up and, run out there. And for me, like, I was just surprised that baseball hadn't won a MIAC championship before that. Obviously with head coach Winicky, he is like dynamite for that team. And they always just have such a crazy dynamic the way they run that team. So I was just thinking, oh my God, this is the first time, really? Like, it didn't feel like that to me, but watching that, it was like, you get chills just thinking about it. I like literally get chills. And the fact that, we're just D3 sports and that's how you feel, it speaks a lot to what we can do. So definitely one of the most exciting things I have ever seen on my phone screen.
I'm blushing. I think you can probably see, but yeah, that was it was pretty incredible. And I don't do that. A little bit of advice with this new sports podcast. D3 sports matters. It really does.
It really does.
Yeah, especially to us. Like, this is our little ecosystem. And it doesn't matter that we're not Division 1 or even D2. We love talking about it. Our families love watching it. It is a big thing. So don't denigrate, just because it's D3.
It means a lot to all of us to want to talk so much about it. I mean, even that just on its own, and even to put so much effort into broadcasting, into all the work that the people do for D3 sports to make sure that we're all heard. And I think that's something that's, people don't realize how important it truly is. I know me just following almost every MIAC team ever, like McAllister sent a baseball player to the Olympics and he played for Team Israel and it was huge. And he was put on the Olympic, like all-time roster that they made at the end of the year. And it's like, we're not just D3 sports, right? Like it is really a lot bigger than that. But I think it's just an interesting landscape, and an even more interesting landscape transitioning a little bit into St. Thomas moving out of the MIAC and what that's going to look like for all of our teams. Obviously them being such a powerhouse, especially in baseball. You know, what does that mean for our baseball team looking forward, knowing that they just played them in the championship and now they're not there, you know? So it will definitely be very interesting.
Yeah, mentally, I've kind of been calling it it's like the St. Thomas vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be sucked up to the top? And in baseball, it's going to be us. It's going to be St. John's. It's going to be Gustavus. But it's not just baseball. You know, St. Thomas was a fantastic program in almost every single sport, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you look at track and field. St. Thomas, I believe, has never lost an indoor championship in the conference. Never, ever, 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 not once. Who's going to fill that hole, you know? Right. And it could be us. It could be St. John's. It could be St. Ben's. Who knows? It's a really exciting time. And I was big on the pro side of St. Thomas leaving. If you looked at all the numbers and you looked at the enrollment and you looked at the endowment and you just kind of logically thought about it, they outgrew us. They outgrew the conference. And it's a little, if you look at it from the outside, it's you're too good. You can't play with us.
Right.
That's kind of what ESPN, when they talked about it, that's how they categorized it. But if you look from our side, it makes all the sense in the world.
It does. And it's, you know, a team you love to beat as an athlete. Like if you can beat St. Thomas, you know, that's amazing. And it feels so great. But I remember when we beat St. Thomas in playoffs, 2019 women's hockey, greatest game of my entire life, you know, one of our best showings. But after that, we went immediately to the men's basketball team playing at St. Thomas in playoffs. And we went there, and of course, everyone cheered for us, which was, you know, like second most amazing sports memory behind pandemonium in Collegeville. But walking onto that campus, I felt like I was walking through Notre Dame. I was like, this doesn't feel like D3. You know, my brother goes to Notre Dame. I spent a lot of time there, and I'm looking at these buildings and I'm like, this isn't quite right. Like they have more treadmills than like we have students, you know, it's just like, where do you belong? And I'm really, really interested. I'm definitely going to watch St. Thomas quite a bit this year to see how they fit in all of their divisions, especially hockey, because I'm biased and I know the programs. But, you know, them moving to D1 does a lot for us in the sense that it gives, you know, this pedestal of like the transition year. It's who's going to take it first for every sport. And even especially with softball, with Nick Cheetah coming down from St. Thomas to revive our softball program, which I know everyone's excited about. I had the pleasure of meeting him actually. And it's just like, you want to feel like he's a little bit of a celebrity. And I think this year after following that is going to be really exciting. So I do want to know what's the thing you're most excited about in the whole sports season coming up?
According or in like terms of St. Thomas or just of anything?
Anything.
Well, it's probably a tie between how is the men's basketball team going to do without Eli Cave?
Oh, yeah.
How is the softball team going to do in their first year under Coach Cheetah? And every sport lacking St. Thomas. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but those are like the big headlines for me this year is how will the men's basketball team do? They've done so well ever since Coach Fano stepped in. A lot of that had to do with the emergence of Eli Cave. So we'll see, you know, can Raheem step up? I know Kareem is gone. They lost a big group of guys, and I know they've brought in a large group as well. So that's one thing I'm excited for. Coach Cheetah, as you mentioned, he's won a national championship here before. He is an alumnus. I'm so excited that we got him back. It's pretty funny because he's been here for 2 months and already there's a new couple of batting cages out there. He's getting some new stands. I've been working grounds all summer long. So he is already leaving his mark on this softball team. And then that St. Thomas vacuum that we've talked about twice now, because, you know, they're probably not going to be able to hang this first year in Division I. This is a Tony Pasquesi opinion, not necessarily reflecting on your opinion. I don't think that they're going to be able to compete. And a little Schadenfreude, it's going to feel kind of good because they've been doing it to us for so long. But yeah, I mean, not having to play the Tommies is going to be huge for us. And St. Scholastica, they're a good team.
Oh yeah, that's a whole new variable kind of thrown into the mix. I know, at least obviously knowing the most about women's hockey as a women's hockey player, they're a decent team. I mean, they make it to their conference championship many years in a row We played them once last year, but it's like, what can you judge from last year in one game? So it will definitely be interesting to see what role they fill in the MIAC. And it's one of the most competitive leagues, I think, just in general in all of D3 sports. That's something that not a lot of people, I think, realize, but when almost every sport is sending one or two teams to a national championship, I mean, that's something that happens all the time in every single MIAC sport. So I definitely think there will be a hole to fill of who's going to win those championships, if not St. Thomas. So it will definitely be very exciting.
Absolutely. And just for the record, I'm very happy that we no longer, or we've lost one Tommy, Johnny, Oli, Gusty, Augie.
Yeah.
I'm happy that the Saint Scholastica Saints are called the Saints. Thank you.
I agree. They have a set name. That was something I always kind of looked at. I was like, in the MIAC, what's the deal with birds, right? Everyone's got to be some kind of bird. What's going on there? And then why can't you just call it for what you are? I understand alliteration is great. I get it. You want to be the St. Thomas Tommies, but it's like when I hear a Tommy, the first thing I'm not thinking of is a tomcat. I'm thinking of the first person I know who's named Tom. And that, it makes for some great Instagram captions for some game day posts. What even is a gusty? Like, who knows? There's a million things you can go into that are pretty funny. So, we're lucky, solid Cardinals. At least we're not trying to be something we're not. But yes, definitely very exciting. Men's soccer starting on Sunday with a scrimmage in Iowa at Wartburg College, playing the Knights, which I think will be interesting showing for the men's soccer team. I know a bit about them. I know some of those players. What's your take on them getting started so soon after just coming back to campus yesterday? What's it going to look like for men's soccer this year?
Well, I think they're excited, chomping at the bit, to say the least. They only had 6 games last year, maybe even 5 games. And it's just been so long since they've played meaningful soccer, because those games last year, at that point, we knew they didn't matter. By the time spring rolled around, we knew, there was a little bit of a toss up for hockey and basketball where maybe there'll be playoffs or maybe there'll be awards. And then once that was kind of all nixed, I'm sure it felt empty a little bit, a little more empty. Definitely. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're playing before school even starts, is they're all wanting to, they're just agitated and excited to go up against Wartburg, a team that we haven't played in quite a long time. We've had success against them. I believe we're undefeated, but also Wartburg has gotten a lot better. They played really well in their conference last season, and they've got quality colors, which I'm always big on. The orange and black. So we'll see how they do. Scrimmages are a big deal. We saw the women's soccer team tie Winona State in their scrimmage last season, which was pretty cool. So you don't always know what you're gonna learn from it, because it is a scrimmage. You don't know who's playing, who's getting the most playing time. Are you playing your starters the whole time, or are you putting some subs in? But it'll be fun to see a couple of those guys in Cardinal uniforms for the first time. I know they have a lot of recruits.
Tons of recruits.
Yeah. And also, it's unfortunate for these, for everybody, but for these sophomores who are now sophomores, but they didn't really have a freshman season.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And obviously the juniors didn't have a sophomore season, seniors didn't have a junior season. I don't have to explain that. But especially for the sophomores, I think having a little sense of normalcy will be really good. And guys like Daniel Sessler, who had a pretty good freshman season, can be even better with consistent training with Matt Sager. And
almost like their freshman year all over again. You didn't quite get that normal year. So now you're going to look at it again and say, this is how it's actually supposed to be, to an extent. Obviously we can't go fully back to normal. Things are still a little bit different, but I think that them going into it is going to be a really strong showing, which is also interesting. Obviously they move in on the 17th, quick turnaround, play on Sunday. And I was thinking about that. And then I was just thinking about the fact that overall they're having a quick turnaround altogether. Their last game was in the spring, not in the fall. This isn't a team that hasn't played in a year. So now we're looking at a ton of players who are turning around quickly from that spring season of kind of like, we want more. And it's almost like, all right, just wait a couple months and you'll get it. So definitely, I think that will play into it. So it will be interesting to see how they perform. I know Wartburg did pretty well last year, and they have 15 seniors on their roster, which is just a heavy amount. And I know we didn't lose a ton last year for men's soccer. So I think, with head coach Corbin Bowers, he's a great guy. I've gotten to know him a little bit. He does a lot to make sure that the team is connected. They recruit a lot from outside of Minnesota, especially internationally. And he does a lot to make sure that the guys really gel. And you can tell on the field and you can tell off the field that it makes a big difference. So I'm very excited to watch Cardinal sports back at it. And I know you said you love orange and black, but I can't stand orange as a sports color. I just have to throw that in there. I think it's awful. I can't stand it. I have terrible memories of playing on a youth team and our colors were orange and brown. Orange and brown. It was awful. We had orange jerseys and brown pants. And I just, ever since then, I look at orange teams and I say, thank God I don't have to wear orange anymore.
That's got to be the Detroit in you speaking, because my Bears fan heart is hurting right now.
Oh God, I can't stand the Bears. I'll give the Cubs, the Cubs are all right, but I can't stand the Bears. And yes, part of that has to do with orange, but I do love Justin Fields. And now we're getting really off topic, but I don't care. I love Justin Fields. I used to watch QB1 on Netflix and it was Justin Fields. So I've been following him. And now, of course I hate to see the Bears do well, but that's pretty exciting.
It is very exciting. And what's even the point of being a Lions fan, right? Just come over to the dark side.
To be a fan of, other than the fact that I hate all of the teams that we play. I can't stand the Vikings. I can't stand the Packers and I can't stand the Bears. It's just, of course, and I head over to Winona and that's all that there is. There's no Lions fans in Winona. To be fair, there aren't a lot of Lions fans elsewhere. It's hard to be a Lions fan, but I love my Detroit Tigers. I hate the orange. I've never had an orange hat and I stand strong by that. And I love my Red Wings more than anyone. And we keep it real, red and white, let's go. That's how it is. So St. Mary's is that natural transition for me back to the red, obviously, as we're both matching. So
matching shirts.
Yeah, it seems like everyone at St. Mary's could probably match for one day. So, but anyways, back to D3 sports.
We digress.
Yes, we do. I'm excited to see men's soccer. I'm excited to see them play. I'm excited to watch. I'm just ready to go. And going off that, we've both prepared a little bit of a fantasy team selection for fall sports, picking out a couple athletes each, one from women's soccer, men's soccer, and volleyball. I love statistics. I love them, all kinds of statistics. Anything that's extremely odd, I'd love to know, send me on the ice. How many passes did I make? How many strides did I make? How many seconds was I going this way, that way? There's no point in me knowing that, but I'd love to know. So I did some deep dives into the stats of these teams and I'm very excited. So I'll have you give your first pick for women's soccer, who you think is going to be an impact player.
Now, before I give you this, and I'm sorry for programming on the air, are we going to have some sort of competition? Is there going to be how are we going to decide who wins this little fantasy draft?
And I do love to win, and I love competitions. I don't know how we can fairly judge whether or not someone's doing, if you're picking people from different positions, right? Not every soccer player is going to score a goal. We could definitely sit down and do some serious statistical, I'm going to weigh this stat as this, but that might be a little much. I think it might just be more for us to keep track of, how are they making an impact on the team and how successful is the team when they're, on the field, on the court, whatever it is. So it is a competition, but it isn't. It's a competition for pride and not keeping score, but also keeping score.
The competition addict in me is thinking that we need to come back when the season is over and have a debate and then have a poll. Who won the debate? I like that idea. Okay. I can get behind that idea. We'll think about it. But I will finally give you my first pick. You asked for a women's soccer pick. And obviously you could go with Jordan Matthews. She's gonna score the most goals this year. She is an all MIAC caliber player, and she's just phenomenal. But I'm gonna go a little bit out of left field, and I'm gonna go with Alexis Wynn. She's a junior this year. She's the starting goalkeeper, or at least she was for 5 of the games in their shortened season last year. She gave up 6 goals in 5 games. Here are your statistics.
Mhm.
1.1 or 1.17 goals against average, only a 647 save percentage. So that worries me a little bit. We'll see what that's like when she gets more playing time and has more chances against her. However, this is the silver lining that I see when picking Alexis Wynn. 2/3 of her goals came against a team that isn't in our conference anymore. St. Thomas came against us and beat us 4-0. Alexis Wynn started that game and gave up all 4 of those goals. But that means if you take away the St. Thomas game, which you can't do, but this year you can do, she was one of, if not the best goalkeepers in the conference. And now another year under her belt, getting stronger, faster, a lot more reps. She's a junior now, so maybe she'll take some sort of a leadership role as the goalkeeper. I think Alexis Wynn is a really strong pick, and I'm excited to see her work between the posts this season.
The pick is locked in. And myself, looking at women's soccer, knowing a lot of those players, obviously Jordan Matthews, her and I share a connection because we're both business majors and we're often in a lot of the same classes. And why does that matter? You might ask. Well, it gets difficult when you want to say Jordan or Jordan, right? So naturally you want to go to the first initial of the last name, and you go to Matthews or you go to Majeski. So, there's really nowhere to go. It's Jordan M or Jordan M, but she's Jordan with a Y. I won't hold that against her. I do feel biased to Jordan with an A. I feel like that's the right way to spell it. I'm going to pick Jordan Matthews. I feel like, looking at her, obviously, like you mentioned, all MIAC, she's going to score a ton of goals. And in the shortened season, you can only see so much. But her first year at St. Mary's, she scored 15 goals. Like, that's absurd. That's an absurd amount of goals to score in soccer, just in general. And I have no doubt, entering her senior year, they're going to look to her as a leader on the team. They're going to look up to her because she's tall. She's also 5'11". Not a lot of soccer players, you don't really see that a ton. I know I look up to her because I'm, a whopping 5'2", but they're definitely going to be looking to her, especially with the St. Thomas transition and a women's soccer team that can step into a new role in the MIAC. I think she's going to perform really well. I got to give honorable mention to Cassie Arriaga. She's awesome, a dynamic forward. She's, if I could pick a second pick, right? 4 points last year, but I remember watching against Gustavus. She made a huge assist, and it was like the most beautiful soccer play I've seen in the entire world. So definitely going to be watching her as well, but really excited for women's soccer to see what they're going to do. Love that team. Just really great energy all the time. Losing 4 seniors, give and take, but they're definitely bringing in some power forwards and some power players to help them out this year. So I'm really excited for that. And the team that plays first, men's soccer.
Men's soccer. Do I get to pick first again?
Pick first. Yeah, you're picking first every time. It's as,
Perfect.
a host to my guest.
Thank you. Very polite of you. I'm going to go with another goalkeeper because why not? Daniel Sessler, 6'3", out of Riverside Brookfield High School. Go Bulldogs. I know exactly where that is. I used to have my grade school track meets there.
That's awesome.
He played and started all 5 games last year. 2-2-1 was their record. And statistically, he was the 5th best goalkeeper in the conference last season. If you look at goals against average, if you look at save percentage. However, the top 2 goalies in the league were both Tommies. And again, here we are, retroactively taking out St. Thomas from our stat books. He's going to be a top 3 goalkeeper next year, or actually this year. And goals against average 1.52, 5th in the conference behind 2 Tommies, Wesley Sanders of Gustavus and Jake Swanson of St. John's. So Swanson, Sanders, and Sessler are going to be the top 3 goalkeepers again this season. Both of them are sophomores. So we'll see how that goes. Swanson and Sessler, remember, last season had dueling shutouts against one another when St. Mary's and St. John's tied each other 0-0. 4 days later, however, St. Mary's did get the victory. That was pretty fun to see. I was out working the soccer field today at work, and the men's soccer team was on the field, and Daniel Sessler has put on some muscle, and he could probably dunk a basketball fairly easily because he jumped almost over the goal. So athletic specimen. And I think, again, first full season, 100% support from Corbin. I'm assuming he'll get, I think he'll be the starting goaltender once the games really matter in conference competition. So Daniel Sessler, locked in.
Locked in. Now, before I announce my men's soccer pick, I'd like to give a shout out to Daniel Sessler. Fun fact about him and men's soccer player Liam Boyle. They've played together since they were kids. They played together forever and they dreamed about playing in college together. And now they're entering their second year together, playing together. And I think that's a really awesome story. And I also got to give a shout out to Liam's dad, Neil, who always watches all of my radio broadcasts. So I got to give a shout out to him. But men's soccer, locking my pick in, I'm going Diego Rivera, 4 points, 5 games, right? So, that's almost a point a game. And we didn't really get to see a ton out of the men's soccer team in 5 games, but I think in a full season, it's definitely going to be a lot different. He tied for lead in points as a sophomore, which is a huge role to be in as a sophomore. So I think in his junior season, looking at a full year, a year without St. Thomas, they're going to look to him for some leadership. They're going to look for him for some offense. And I think, going from 1 point in 16 games his freshman year to 4 points in only 5 games in his sophomore year, you're going to add up those points and it's going to definitely accumulate over this year. So I'm locking in for him. And I think there's big things coming for Diego Rivera this year.
Yeah. And just to bolster your point, I went even deeper into how many minutes he played. He only played 215 minutes, 13th on St. Mary's last season. And he was their most productive player with 13th most playing time. He's going to have a really good year.
Huge year. Definitely. All right. Long awaited. We are off the soccer field, back indoors, get to watch some volleyball this year. Finally, it was like they were keeping us out. It was like jail. I was trying to get in, watching some volleyball. Obviously, some big names leaving, but there's a few stepping up and I know you're going to pick one of them.
Yes, I didn't go with the obvious pick for women's soccer or men's soccer. I'm going with the obvious pick for women's volleyball. DJ Babb, the libero out of Wabasha, Minnesota, just up the road. She is 10th all time in career digs. In fact, I got to call the game in which she scored her dig that got her 10th all time. And it was very exciting. She was all MIAC first team in 2019. She was a defensive player of the week one time last year in that shortened season. She's been an absolute stud since the day she walked through the doors of St. Mary's Gymnasium. She's tallied 1,148 digs in her career, 412 in her first season, 549 her sophomore year, and then just 187 last season, 10th all time. Now, you love statistics.
I do.
I love statistics.
Give it to me.
I'm going to give you some quick math, all kind of fairy dust. It doesn't really matter because it's a little unfair, but let's go. Let's average her first 2 seasons and say that 2020 wasn't a year from HE double hockey sticks, and see where she could have been after her junior year. 412 plus 549 equals 961 divided by 2, 480 is her average. Put that in, that's 1,441 digs, 5th all time if she was allotted a normal season last year. Now, let's say she has just an average season this year. That'll be good for 3rd all time. So I'm expecting big things from DJ Babb. And just to be fair, even if she did have a full season last year, she would not catch Lex Krogstad for second place, who is very high up there. DJ would have to have some 800 digs this year. But yes, DJ Babb is my pick, and I don't think you're going to beat me. I'm sorry.
That's a tough one. Obviously, her hitting 1K, huge, awesome. And then I was like, this is really cool. DJ, gets 1,000 digs. Great. That's awesome. And then she just added on almost 200 after that. She's like, oh, but wait, I'm not done. I still have a lot to do. So obviously she's going to be a huge leader on that Cardinal team this year. But obviously you taking DJ, I am going to go to a setter, to a quarterback of the volleyball core. I'm going Mandy Schmidt. led the team in assists. Her freshman year, she had 35 assists, and, it's here or there, right? But playing in 3 times the sets, they relied on her a ton in her sophomore year, and she definitely showed up. She showed up with 333 assists in her sophomore year. She played 3 times the games, but I honestly think she's going to step into the role. I keep saying games, but it's sets. I know this. I'm a hockey player at heart. So I think she's going to step into the role of the quarterback pretty easily in her junior year, obviously only going up from freshman year to sophomore year. So I'm locking in my pick for Mandy Schmidt.
Very quality pick. Those two are super important, defense and assisting, setting up the offense. Let's look out for Kiara McNally and also Written. What's her first name? I can't believe I've forgotten. Braden, I think. Let's just go with the freshman last year who was awesome, whose last name is Written. She was fantastic, and I'm very excited to see what she does on offense. I'm so sorry I forgot your name.
Definitely very exciting for volleyball. We're looking forward to seeing them a little bit more, seeing them play more sets. And obviously last year they ran a 5-game win streak in the chunk of their season, even though they didn't have a ton of games. That was like the majority of their season was just them winning. And I think honestly that they're going to be able to step into a contention role this year for playoffs. And I've always thought that about volleyball. A little fun fact about them, they're the highest performing academic team on campus, and all of them together, really come together as a team. And I think that makes a big difference when you're performing not only on the court significantly, but also off and being more than just an athlete. And they definitely make the point to do that. So huge shout out to volleyball, huge shout out to both soccer teams. Super excited. What do you got?
Braden Written.
All right, you got it.
I'm sorry. I did know it. I said it.
You did.
I just wasn't confident.
Sure.
Braden Written. But one fun fact about volleyball, actually, they didn't win a single first set until they lost to St. Thomas. They actually won the first set of that match. So let's see if they can maybe come out a little stronger. They were the comeback queens all year long last year. And I can say confidently that there is no coach more excited for their freshman class than Coach Keeger. She is big things coming for them.
Big things. And obviously women's hockey working closely with volleyball all the time. They asked us to do some stat keeping and stuff at their game. So I'm excited to sit at the table and watch some volleyball really closely and, raise the flag a couple times and track some liberos if I get the chance. So definitely super excited about volleyball and seeing them play. Now, I got to check with you, make sure there's nothing more you feel like we need to cover over sports, because then it's almost time for Mojo's Minute, the whole namesake of my podcast.
I should probably just think of something to buy myself more time because it's so nerve-wracking.
Thinking isn't going to help you here. The key is not to think.
No, I think we covered it all. Very excited to be out there. And just a shout out, if anybody is interested in being a play-by-play color commentator this season for Cardinal Athletics, we are allowing a work study. We have a paid position, and you can learn from me. You can learn from the best in the biz, Donnie Nadeau, Dean Beckman. It's going to be a great, education for anybody and great experience. It's one of the things that I'm so fortunate to have had at St. Mary's, with it being such a small school, very little competition, and I get a lot of airtime, but we're going to share the airtime this year. So if you want to, just email me, avpasq16@smoomin.edu. Let me know you're interested, and we'll give you a tryout and let you know if you made the cut. So very excited.
Very, very exciting. A little ads there for our broadcasting fans. And if you like listening to me talk, check me out on the Black Hole Radio. I got to throw in a plug there, where we talk about absolutely nothing at all. It's where things go to die. That is our tagline. Anyways, so the whole key of Mojo's Minute is 1 minute of rapid fire questions that have absolutely nothing to do with sports. Well, they could, you never know. But they definitely don't have anything to do with St. Mary's sports, that's for sure. So in this, I'm going to ask you about 20 questions. I'm hoping it will round out to a minute. But basically the premise is I'm going to ask you a question. You cannot think. You can't say anything. You just got to say like the first thing that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be the right answer. And, you know, some of them have right answers, and I'll correct you if you're wrong, but it's the first thing that comes to your mind. If I say your favorite color and you say potato, then you're going on. That's how it goes. But you can't use that same answer over and over. Like, I hope to God you can think of another word.
Oh, no.
Are one-word answers. Some of them aren't. Some of them are related and some of them aren't. So without further ado.
You just told me a whole bunch of things without telling me anything.
Yes. One word. It's evil and it's exciting, and hopefully someone will, you know, get a laugh out of it. At heart, I am a comedian. So there's 21 questions. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. Question number 1. I'm going to talk pretty fast. I do that already, and it's going to go even faster. And it might seem like I'm yelling, and if I am, then that's just how it goes. Question number 1. What part of the chicken does the tender come from?
Leg.
Name a famous woman.
Marilyn Monroe.
Incorrect. The correct answer is Michelle Obama. What's your favorite Australian animal?
A kangaroo.
Wrong. It's a wombat. They're like little bears. Are you jealous of Beyonce's success?
Yes.
Good answer. Name a Christmas song that does not exist.
The trees all fall down.
What is the best zoo animal?
Wallaby.
Wrong. Polar bear. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Fly.
Why doesn't glue stick to the inside of the bottle?
It's made of plastic.
Where does wind start?
The atmosphere.
Who would play you in a movie?
Brad Pitt.
Wow. What's the German word for potato chip?
Batasco crisp.
What rhymes with umbrella?
Yeah, it's Cinderella.
Yell the name of a vegetable.
Eggplant.
How do you say Minnesota backwards?
Asotamanim.
If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
Apple.
What is your favorite planet?
Neptune.
Wrong. The answer is Planet Hollywood. Would you survive an apocalypse?
No.
When is tomorrow?
At midnight.
What do you think your dentist is doing right now?
Probably riding a motorcycle.
That's all we got. That is Mojo's Minute. Those were some good answers. Brad Pitt, you know, all right.
Yeah, I'm rethinking it, and I should have said something else, but I'm not going to say it because that's against the rules.
It is against the rules. It's very true. Obviously, I'm biased to the questions because I wrote them all, so I know what they are. And obviously, some of them have right answers. Example, wombat. You should look them up. They're really cute. So yeah, that's Mojo's Minute. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for being my first guest. It's an honor to be with the voice of Cardinal Athletics, and I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, getting some more airtime and doing some broadcasting with you in the future.
Absolutely. Very excited. Thank you so much. This has been a great time.
Yes. Awesome.